In tonight's WGN Investigates, more than a decade behind bars without ever having a trial or a conviction.
Alex Daniel says he's tired of waiting, but it's not clear who's to blame for the slowdown. WGN's Lourdes Duarte is here with more on a case fit for the record books. Lourdes.
Sure is. Think about it. 10.5 years waiting behind bars, and a jury has never even found you guilty. The point of the story isn't to convince you of his guilt or his innocence, but to let you see what's happening. This case is extreme, but it's not the only one. Sheriff Dart says he's had a string of cases where the wait for trial is more than 5 years. Walk downstairs and you'll find the case.
So here's the mounds of documents.
That's been tough to get off the ground.
At this stage, he's really frustrated.
Dwayne Daniel is talking about his brother Alex, who in 2007 was arrested for his wife's murder. Since then, he's watched the days roll by at the Cook County Jail for 10.5 years. The thing is, he's never been sentenced. No conviction, no jury. The 57-year-old pled not guilty, but has never been tried.
He now currently has the longest standing case that's never been brought to trial at Cook County.
The docket sheet detailing his case, 6 pages long, 129 continuances. He's on his third attorney. It's been such a long wait that the initial judge in that case retired last year. So what has slowed the process? That's a big question in all of this. We reached out to the public defender's office and the state's attorney. They're not talking on camera. They did, however, allude to the possibility of Mr. Daniel himself slowing down the process by firing his public defender each time he gets close to going to trial. WGN Investigates sat down with Alex Daniel at the Cook County Jail and asked him that question. How do you respond to them?
Well, I mean, that's what they want to do. They want to shift the blame. If I could be responsible for the length of time being here, I would have been gone in maybe 18 months.
We'll get back to him in a second, but let's take the story to Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, who oversees the jail.
There's no excuse for a case going this long. There isn't any.
Even if your client is a difficult client and keeps firing the public defender.
I often tell people, think about Dylan Roof.
Dylan Roof is a case of a mass shooting at a church in Charleston in 2015. He was known for being a difficult defendant, firing his public defender, but despite that, prosecutors had a conviction 17 months after the crime.
Even with a difficult client, where cases can be forced to court, and if someone were to say to you otherwise, they're not telling you the truth.
For years, you've seen the stories of overwhelmed court systems. Cook County, no exception. A lack of staff and resources. Dart thinks this case may be the longest wait so far.
If you were to compare us to other jurisdictions, they'd be blown away. They'd be like, what?
He says jails aren't equipped to handle inmates for that length of time. It's meant to be an average of 1 or 2 years at most. Dart estimates that housing Alex Daniel during his 10.5-year stint has cost the county at least $500,000. That's a lot of money. It even upsets Alex Daniel, which is part of the reason he contacted us.
I mean, that's absurd. I mean, the taxpayers should be mad. I'm mad.
And Daniel has spent his time behind bars studying cases like his. For a short time, he even represented himself, which is why he keeps track of every motion, every continuance, every move. He says he fired one of his attorneys after 6.5 years of trying to work with her.
I mean, I do want to get this over more than anyone.
At this point, he doesn't think he can get a fair trial because after 10 years, witnesses or evidence may no longer be available. He says by now, if they were to question him, he barely remembers all the facts. And you're saving all these?
Well, whenever he calls, if he says, well, I need X. One thing for sure, Lourdes, Alex does not want to remain at Cook County Jail. Alex wants to go to trial. Alex is trying to be a free man.
A speedy trial in Illinois normally means within 120 days of being booked. Do the math. In this case, it's been close to 4,000 days and still counting. Do you think you're going to get out of here?
I've been predicting for years that, this year I would be going home this year. I just leave it in God's hands now.
Okay, the continuances in the case have been mutually agreed upon, so he may not be able to use a speedy trial statute. By the way, we have been trying to contact Brenda Daniels' family. She's a murder victim in this case, but have not been able to locate them. Meanwhile, Alex Daniel goes back to court May 24th. A trial date is expected to be set at that hearing, so hopefully it'll move along at that point.
But who's to blame for all this?
Yeah, that's the thing. Who's to blame? And it's a great question. You know, you talk about the public defender, but they're just a small piece of this. Then you talk about Alex Daniel, who has become very savvy about the law. So that's another piece of this. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it's not just a one thing, a one fix, right? So you've got a department or a legal department that doesn't have the resources really at this point. So we'll see.
Serving a sentence, and he hasn't even been sentenced.
Yep.
All right.
Exactly.
Thanks, Lourdes.
Lourdes.